Hey guys, it's Gwen here, and I am coming to you, not live, from the studio to show you March's subscription box project for our Crafters Crate. You will have inside of your box, your package, or your bag, whichever you pick up or ship, a little note that kind of explains why we're not doing live videos anymore. Facebook has decided to delete live videos after 30 days, and I know not everybody gets to their project within 30 days, so I would hate for you not to be able to go back and see the video. So these will now live on our website where you guys can find them anytime if you go to oliveandokeyuma.com and then go to the Creative Crate tab in the menu, and you'll be able to see past videos, and they'll all be up there pretty soon. But let's talk about this month's project. When you open your package, you may have noticed a lack of paints. You will only have two kind of paint containers going on. You're gonna have a cup like this, which is gonna have your cold foam, which is my favorite off-white color right now, and an itty bitty container like this that's going to have your stain. This is our early American stain. It is water-based, it doesn't stink, and you don't have to worry about any craziness happening with this, and it dries quickly. But you'll notice those are in there. Of course, you're gonna have a little bottle of glue. You've got two brushes, you've got a foam brush and a little blue paintbrush. But then you're also gonna notice there was a tube of colored pencils in there. So these are super fun, and if you've never played with them before, welcome to your new favorite thing. These, I believe there's 36 of them, are watercolor pencils. There are a few different ways you can play with these. The way that we're gonna do it today is probably my most used version of it, where you color first and then add water, but these can be used a couple different ways. You can spritz if you're using watercolor paper. You can spritz your paper with water and then color on top of it, and it'll create that watercolor effect. You can also dip these right into water and then color with them. I feel like they don't blend as well that way, but you can do that and you're gonna get really bright pigmentation. But today I'm gonna show you guys how to do it my favorite way, which is where you color and then add a little bit of water to your paintbrush to turn it into a watercolor look. So, with that being said, you guys probably wanna see what the project is, right? Well, for spring, it seemed like a good idea to do a fun tulip sign. This one says every flower must grow through dirt. So I did my original one, I did in all pinks. I'll kind of show you guys what that looks like. I used 3 different shades of pink to create kind of some cool color variations in my flowers. For the box tutorial though, I am going to do multiple colors to kind of give you some different ideas. If pink isn't your jam, maybe you prefer yellows, purples, reds, or maybe you want to do all the different colors like I did. So these are in there, but you're also gonna have a little itty bitty package in there as well, which is something new that we are getting ready to launch in the studio, which is paint your own earrings. So with the paint your own earrings, you can color them the same way we're gonna color our main sign. This is kind of like our little bonus surprise in the package, but you can use the colored pencils or the stain to color those as well. And then the little ear clippies that are in there, you literally just pinch them on the top and boom, you've got a pair of earrings. I will show you guys how I do mine in just a bit, but let's get into making the sign and turning it into something awesome. All right, let's sort our pieces out and get into it. Put my flowers aside. I'm gonna shake all my letters off over here, and then we are gonna paint the background first. We're gonna be using cold foam, or at least that's what I'm using. If you wanna paint with something else, you do you. Cold foam is just a little bit of an off-white, but I do really, really love it. So I'm gonna paint right over my letters. I'm gonna do my whole background in this color. And even once I've painted, as long as I'm not like really mashing the paint down in there, I'm still gonna be able to see the lines. I'm gonna end up painting 2 whole coats on here, and I'll still be able to see my lines to line up my letters. You don't need to worry about lining your flowers back up because they're attached to that frame and it's gonna set right into place perfectly on there. But I'm gonna use my foam brush, get all of this painted in. Like I said, it is probably gonna take me 2 coats to get the color I like. My first one, the one with the pink background, I actually did just 1 coat and let some of the wood grain come through, and it was sort of, I don't know, kind of rustic and pretty, so that's an option too. This is really meant to be your style. You do it however you like. All right, so got my 2 coats on there. There's a couple of spots to touch up. And I'm going to set this aside. And now I'm going to work on my stain pieces. So let me just close this up real quick. Alright, so let's get my little frame pieces laid out. I'm going to butt them right up next to each other. Just checking to make sure I have the front side up on all of them. And then this little tiny cup has my stain in it. You really don't need a whole lot, and it does go a long way. So I'm going to use my little blue brush, and I'm just going to stain each one. Now you can stain them individually if you want to. This just feels easier to hold on to when I put them all together. And then I just make sure I'm getting all the way to the edges on each one. Getting it all filled in there. And then I will get about halfway down, and then we're going to speed this up a little bit. I'm going to flip this around and finish my other edge. There we go. Now I'm going to pull my letters out, and I'm actually going to stain my letters too. I thought about doing these with the colored pencils, but I really liked the kind of classic look with the stain on them, and I don't know, something about the word dirt in a cool brown made sense to my brain. But all I'm doing is taking my paintbrush, and I'm using it just like I would paint. It's just a lot thinner, and so it moves a lot easier, and I'm obviously not trying to paint it so thick that I don't have any of the wood grain coming through, but I'm using my stain right on top of this too. Let's just speed through this. I'm just kind of gentle as I paint these. Get them all finished up and set them aside. Alrighty, so now I'm going to get this stuff out of my way, and we're going to get on to the fun stuff. Alright, let's get into this one. These are watercolor pencils, and they are amazing to play with. There's all these different colors. I believe there's 36 in all, and different shades of different colors, and they are super cool. I'm going to show you how to use them. First, I'm going to go through, I'm going to pick 3 of the green colors. Let's get these pulled out. You know, let's go with the 4th. We'll do 4 of the green colors. So this is what I'm going to use to actually paint, essentially, my flowers. I am going to get this all kind of set up. So I've got my 4 different green shades here. I've got lime green, lime, dark green, and I forget what the other one's called. But I'm going to start with my darkest color, and there's no wrong way to do it. This is just how I'm doing it. I'm taking my darkest color, and the leaves that have a center spine, I feel like I'm using the wrong word there, but the center line going up through the leaves, I'm just going to color this right along that, so it kind of darkens it when I'm finished. I'm going to go along all of these, get them filled in, and the best part is it doesn't have to be perfect. Sometimes I like that. I kind of miss my spot. It gets a little thicker than it did in other spots, and that's okay. Now I'm going back in, and anywhere that there's like an overlap, kind of see how this leaf sits in front, anywhere where there's an overlap where the flower sits on front, I'm kind of coloring just along that edge to make it kind of like a shadow in my head. Again, I'm not a really fancy artist. I just like the way that this kind of, I don't know, creates a darker shadow effect. So I'm going to go in anywhere that there is a flower head that kind of sits, or flower bloom, not a head, bloom, that sits in front, and then where the stems kind of come up in front of them. I'm just going to add this little bit of dark just behind it. And again, you can get as fancy with this as you want to. But now I'm going to switch to my medium green, and I'm start filling in leaves. I am using this one on the leaves that don't have a center spine, and I'm just coloring them in. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to color really hard. You can if you want to. It's just going to have higher pigmentation to it. But I'll get all these guys filled in, and if there's some white spot, it's okay. I'll explain what we do with that. That part, I'm going to go in with, this is, I don't know, the medium green, I guess, and I'm going to color in the ones that do have spines. Get this all filled in over here. Spines, I feel like that's still the wrong word. Oh well, I didn't promise a floral education. I'm just teaching you guys how to color stuff, make it look cool. And now I'm going to take my lightest green, and I'm going to do the stems. And then we're going to take this guy in and kind of fill in any of that white space that was left behind from my other colors, and kind of add some coolness to it. But here's where the magic happens. Okay, so I am going to take my little blue paintbrush. I've rinsed the stain off of it so it's nice and clean, and it's a water-based stain, so it does come really, really clean. But I'm going to take my little blue paintbrush, and I'm going to dip it in just a little bit of water, and we're just going to start brushing it. And as the first couple strokes, it doesn't do it, but by the 3rd or 4th stroke in, you'll notice that the colors almost like activate, and I can kind of see it on here. It's hard to see on the screen, but it starts to really change from looking like a colored pencil to looking like paint, and the colors just blend so cool together when you do it like this. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on this next leaf. And you'll notice there'll come a part where it seems like it's just not changing it from colored pencil to kind of this more paint effect. That's when you want to add more water. There is too much water, like that is a thing that can happen if you have too much water on your brush. What I recommend is kind of going slow, get a little bit of water on there, brush it, and if it doesn't seem like enough, then add some more. If you do get to a point where you feel like you added too much, it's really easy to just wipe it off on a paper towel and keep going, or even squeeze it out between your fingers. But I just kind of try to do sort of section by section, and with the leaves, I try to, as much as I can, brush it all in one direction so it's all going towards the tip of the leaf. But it just starts to kind of blend the colors together. I don't worry about necessarily rinsing my brush in between leaves because I did slightly different colors on them. I just kind of, a little bit of touch up in there. I just kind of let whatever color is still on it exist. Obviously I'm putting more water on my brush as we need to. But otherwise I don't worry about rinsing it. I just add a little more water and go on to my next leaf. And then in here I'm doing some of the stem. And like I said, I'm trying my best anyway to mostly be brushing upwards towards the end of the leaf, but it doesn't have to be perfect. There's really no wrong way to do this. So we're going to speed this up just a little bit. Okay, maybe just a lot of it, to get all of these guys blended, because the leaves are fun, but when you get into doing the top of the flowers, I think that's where the fun starts, or the real fun starts. I don't know, the whole thing's fun, but that's where my favorite part is. We'll get these guys all nice and filled in. And again, I'm just going leaf by leaf by leaf and kind of carrying it from the bottom to the top. Some of the spots are just hard to do, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Some of the spots are hard to go that direction in, though, so just blend them the best you can. I will say once you've added water, it is a little trickier to color it on top, so if you decide you want more color somewhere, let it dry completely and then add some more colored pencil to be able to change that part out. Alright, here comes my favorite part. I'm going to pick 3 shades of pink. I'm going to do 4 different colored flowers this time to give you some different ideas. I did all pink the first time, but let's switch it up a little bit. So I've got 3 shades of pink, 3 shades of yellow, we're going to do 3 shades of purple, and we'll do 3 shades of red. I've got more of like an orange, a red, and then a really dark red for this one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by taking my medium color, and I'm kind of scribbling around the outside of each petal, kind of where the lines are. Creating sort of a frame around that part. It is not perfect, and I don't want it to be perfect because then it looks too, I don't know, too uniform. But there's no real perfect way to do this. I'm just kind of scribbling this frame shape in there. Don't think too hard about this. Let it be fun. I'm going to outline each petal this way for my yellow flower. Get down into all the corners and the grooves, especially towards the tips. Let that part go around down into there, and then I'm going to switch to the lightest shade of yellow that I have, and I'm going to kind of fill in that middle part. It does not have to be solid. Your lighter colors, I will say, for them to stay pigmented, you will want to use more of it than you will your darker ones, but it does not have to be super solid. We're going to fill in this middle section, and just like we did with the leaves, if there is any white left over at the end, or not white, but wood, without color on it at the end, we'll just take one of the other colors and kind of scribble on top until it fills in. But let me get this part filled in nice and solid. I think a whole yellow one would be really pretty, but I wanted to show different colors on this one, so we're going multicolored. I'm going back to my other yellow to kind of fill in some of that in-between spaces. Make sure it's all nice and yellowified. And then I'm going to take that darker color. It's almost like a honey brown color. But I'm going to take this one, and then along my bottom parts, kind of the same as we did the shading with the leaves with the darker color. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to go along the creases, or the kind of the engraved cracks of the petals, if you will, to kind of darken those out. So let me get those all nice and filled in, and then color across the top. And then we're gonna create some magic with it. Same thing. This time I am gonna rinse my brush. I don't want to bring green into my yellow in particular because I want it to be a very yellow flower, but I'm gonna start at the bottom and work my way up, and those colors just start blending, it looks, the camera cannot capture it well enough, but it looks so cool as it all blends together. But I'm going to go up, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting all the way to the tippy tops of my flower to get the tips of those petals, because sometimes the brush just kind of brushes right over them. All of this part. And I will say too, if the little cracks start to look too filled in as it dries, it won't be quite as filled in. So I have an orange, the red, and then kind of purpley red. The orange, I'm going to go really light around the edges. With the yellow, I went really strong on the edge. This orange, I just wanted another color variation in there, but I don't want to go too orange. I really do want a very red flower, so I'm doing just a little bit around the outside edges. Get all that nice and filled in there. Kind of excited to see how this one turns out. Now I'm going to take my red, and like I said, this one I'm going to use for the majority of my fill in here. And I'm going to go, and some of it I'm going to color right on top of the orange too. I'm layering them with the intent that they're going to kind of have some cool variation in them. Kit in there. It kind of reminds me of like the adult coloring books, but then it turns into even cooler. And you could use these in an adult coloring book as long as it's got the thick enough pages. That's what it kind of reminds me of, but then it turns into something way cooler when you add the water. Alright, one more of the red, and then we're going to go in with a little bit of that darker burgundy-ish red color to really fill it in. And the cool thing is honestly, you could mix really any of these colors together and they're going to turn into something really cool. Get this part finished out over here. A little bit more, because again, I do want to make sure this one's definitively red and not orange. Alright, and this is where I'm going to take that burgundy. I'm going to hit it mostly along the edges, a little bit on this outside part, and then in through where those little cracks are. And then down along the bottom as well. Get this all filled in. I'm envisioning this one turning out kind of like those variegated tulips that have not like two complete different colors, but you can definitely see kind of lines in them. But it's neat because no matter, even if we use the exact same colored pencils between mine and yours, it's gonna look different, which is so cool. Alrighty, a little bit more right here. Okay, and now it is time to create some magic. I think this part never gets old, because you just, oh yeah, yep, this is what I wanted. I don't know, you just kind of have a vision in your head, and sometimes you don't know for sure if that's what's going to happen, but no matter what, it comes out really cool. But this is exactly what I was hoping for. It's that really nice bright red color with just a little bit of detail. Alrighty. I don't want to bore you guys with the small details. I want you guys to go and create. So now we're going to do a purple one. I switched out. One of those said brown, not purple on it. My bad. But I'm using kind of that light purple color first for my outside edge. And then I'm going in a little bit deeper on these petals because that fuchsia one, I don't know. It looks like it's very, very cutesy purple, and I want this kind of more lilac-y, lavendery purple. So I want to make sure there's plenty of room for it. Get this guy filled in. Then I'm going to take my dark one in. Go all along those cracks. I'm wondering if this one might be a little darker than what I was thinking, but it's going to be okay. It's going to come out cute. This one looks like it has a lot of detail, even before I've, like a very defined petals, even before I've gone in with this. Ooh, yeah. That, that bright fuchsia purple is very, very fuchsia-y. I probably would have gone more purple, but that's okay. This is still going to be really fun. And now we're going back to pink, where I feel very comfortable because I did my whole entire one in pink last time. So, again, I'm going to outline, do my middle part with a different one, and get this all nice and filled in. Add some more in here. And last but not least, this is going to be our pink flower. I love it. Okay, let's take a peek at this. Look at how pretty those details are. I will say, let it dry before you make your final decision, but I love this so much. All right, now it's assembly time. You know what to do. We're going to take our glue and do little dots around the outside edges and along the backside of our petals and flowers. You don't have to use a ton of glue. It does hold together quite well. We're going to square it up on our sign, hold all the pieces in place. If you do need to, little clamps or clothespins on the edges help a ton in getting these to stay in place. I know the frame pieces sometimes can be a bit of a booger. Now let's do our lettering. The lettering really only needs tiny dots of glue to hold it in place. I always tell everybody this, every single project. If you glue and have some, like if the glue's too thick and some of it comes out the backside, it's going to be okay, my friend. It will dry clear. If you do find that you have really thick glue on the backside though, you can also use that blue brush to kind of brush it out a little bit, and then you can rinse the brush really well and the brush is still usable. So if you need to, you can do that too. All right, let's get the last of our words on here. All right, last but not least, let's get our frame in place. This is meant to look like it's got mitered corners, so they all go along just the outside edge right here. Let's get these on. Now these, I do have to hold them in place for just a minute. This is where clothespins or little tiny clamps really do come in handy. I got a 6-pack from the Dollar Tree that I love, and they're pink, so that's helpful too. I didn't need them today, but they're nice to have. Oh, look how cute this is. Alrighty guys, last but not least, I wanted to show you how to finish off your earrings. This one I colored with the watercolor pencils. For this one, instead of actually coloring and then doing the paintbrush so that I could keep my colors in those little tiny spots, what you do instead, I haven't painted this one yet, but what you can do instead is you're actually going to take your watercolor pencil, your cup of water, you're going to literally just dip the tip of your pencil right into the water, and it kind of, it's really hard to see on the camera, but it kind of makes that part wet. If you roll your pencil just a little bit, it's going to get some of that excess water off because you don't want it to be really, really wet. But now I'm going to take this and I'm going to literally color in just where I want to color, and it reacts a little differently than when you're coloring it. You can see that part there. Then when you're coloring it with this dry, it reminds me almost of an oil paint, of like an oil pastel crayon type paint. But it goes on really silky smooth, and you just fill in the parts you want to color, and it has a really, really vibrant color. And you can usually tell when it's no longer wet, and usually you can just roll your pencil a little bit and use different angles of it. But you can usually tell when it's no longer wet and doing that because it'll drag a little bit more. So that's really all it takes. I know it's hard to focus on there because it's so tiny. My overhead camera, when I had that set up, you really couldn't see what I was doing. But it does. If it starts to get dry, you just put a little bit more water on it. I shake off the edge of it so that I don't have big dripping water. And I'm just coloring it in, and it does. It covers it just like you would with like an oil crayon. And it's got really vibrant colors. So I go through whatever, I fill in all my pieces how I like them. I use greens and pinks and all that sort of stuff on there. So there, that's not my finished one. I used greens and pinks and all that sort of stuff on there, and some yellow and some brown. But all you do to finish off your earring is you've got 2 of these little pinch bail ear wire hooks in there. You're gonna take this, you're gonna make sure that the wire is pointed back. So this is, you know, the way that it would sit in your ear, so that your bails are forward and backwards. Your bail is this little bottom piece, and it's got those 2 little spikies in it. You're gonna put those little spikies, one of them into one of the holes on your earring, position the other spiky right over top of it, and then pinch. If you need to use pliers, if you need a little more strength in your thumb and finger, you can use pliers to do this too, but you're just gonna pinch those shut so that they will dangle just like that, and then take these guys out over my cute new earrings. You'll slide this little guy right into your ear, and you've got a pair of earrings that you've colored. Now, of course, if you like really neutrals, you could easily use just a stain on this. I think that could be really pretty. If you have a different preference of colors, go for it. If you like the lighter colors, go lighter. If you like bold, go bold. But you've got this really cute little pair of earrings that you can say you made. You painted, you designed them, and they were just a fun little bonus. We're going to start offering some paint your own earring kits in the shop, and I thought this would be a fun way to introduce them and let our VIPs get to be the first to check them out. Anyway, I hope you guys really enjoyed this box. I had fun putting it together and picking out elements that you guys will be able to use. I hope you guys enjoyed the colored pencils. They're so much fun, and you can do so many cool things with them, and I can't wait to see what you guys create. If you have a moment, be sure to stop by the page and post a picture of your finished sign. I want to see what they look like.